it is 3 months, 14 weeks since
This is
we
actually
recorded last time.
end of July. So yeah, it's a very long time.
Yeah. So the name of that office hours is called the catch-up edition. So let's see. So last 14 weeks, we shipped 400 times, more than 400 times. And you can see the stats. I think it's not important for anyone else than us or me to see these kind of numbers. But what might be interesting is that we were heavily focused on agent. And then we also shipped something for Commander and API. And why I'm saying heavily focused on agent, because typically this ratio is completely different. We have a lot of changes in APIs and Commander, but this time we did work mostly on the agent and some related stuff. You can see that we also changed some technical parts like MCPs and SDKs, and we introduced CDP. This is probably what we will discuss later. But in total, more than 400 releases. So pretty heavy quarter, if I would call it quarter. Even it's not like Q2, it's somewhere between Q1 and Q2. But this is what we were working on.
Actually, in the beginning, some question pop up in my head if this is right or bad, if it's good or bad that we shipped that many times.
These are small iterations, and probably the number is not so important for us. It's an interesting metric if you would compare it from or with the previous time periods, how fast we are. But in general, the key message for the audience might be that where is the focus? And you can see the focus is on agent, was on agent mostly, with some following components like Commander, or this is the name of our front end, we call it Commander and API. So I'll move on. There are certain topics we covered. One, what we did, we introduced something what we call Cockpit. We also improve in general the agent. I will go deeper into these topics later. And maybe the biggest news or the most interesting part is that now agent is able to work with humans, so it can hand over to you the browser. You can work on that test and then hand it over back to agent. So then users can collaborate with agents, which we originally thought it will never happen because we dreamed about one-click solution. But now, even based on the feedback from the customers, we introduced this feature so users can now work with agent together and collaborate, especially for some tricky UI or some more complicated flows where user input is still important and valuable, especially.
Okay, but this is not the replacement of the agentic executions. It's just addition to some special situations.
Yeah, it was pretty kind of black box in the past, but now you can collaborate with agent to work on that interaction with your app under the test. So these are the new features. I think we also introduced this time a chat. Maybe it'll be later. Let's move on to the.
I think we spoke about the initial version of the chat on our last office hours. So
okay.
It used to be there, but I think mostly thanks to the MCP updates and some other tweaks, it gets much more matured, I think, nowadays.
Yeah. So this is something what we were working on as well. So if it was there before in April, then it's just better. No, it's not new feature. So as I said, we have live browser viewer, and you can use it in a way that you can pause or take over or let the agent resume with that, and we are streaming everything to the users. And apart from that, we also building something new in that area. It will be new. I'll slightly scroll down. We call it Cockpit, where we redesigning completely the flow of building new tests. And this is what we are releasing probably next week in that latest version, where people could be, or where the users could switch to the new view and work with that in a different way. So this might be a bit, how to say that? This might be a bit too technical, but under the hood, we switched to CDP communication with the browser. So agent now using the CDP, and that's why we can stream it to the users. So this is basically just deeper dive to the cockpit we are building and preparing, which is built on top of interactive mode for the agent. And we are
Okay,
redesigning.
can we have some live demo of it, or maybe at the end of the office hours? I don't know.
We can run a live demo. Let me do it later. I will just quickly go through that.
Yep.
We have few more news, and then we can do a demo. So keep recording some notes, so we know what we want to demo and show. Because there is a lot for one stream.
Yeah, basically because I'd like to just understand the use cases. What is it good for?
Okay. So this might be a bit, again, more technical. What we were working on is that we have already pool of agents ready to be run, which means that the spin up period is shorter and we have it ready much quicker. So whenever you run your agent, there is some pool, and we are just asking already pre-warmed agents to run the crawling. This is still a bit, I would say, experiment. Maybe you wouldn't agree, but we are trying to find a way how the user experience is better by providing quicker feedback from the agent. And again, it might be technical to explain the details, but in short, and to simplify it, the first reaction from agent is much quicker because we pre-warming them for you.
Okay, and similarly to live cockpit, it's just the additional way how you can run the agent, and it goes hand in hand to cooperate with the agent on the same browser and start the agent quickly. Then this feature is there. But what we already had for regular CI/CD pipelines executing the agents from scratch for some set of tests without any interaction, it's still there. So these two features, live cockpit plus the pre-warmed agents to start nearly immediately, it's there because of some interactive mode of cooperation with the user, and it's useful for preparing new test cases, fine-tuning them, and covering the application initially. But for the regular test scenario executions, there are still like casual CI/CD ways how to execute the agent without any need to step in and let the agent just perform the test cases.
Yeah, actually, this was introduced just because, but maybe later we will enhance it or expand it for the other use cases, for the cases where the humans need to be involved to improve the user experience. So we will provide a ready environment much quicker than it was before. So I don't know whether we need to go deeper. I would just skip this, or not skip, but move on with this. What we did, and this was part of the agent, and I thought that this might be your part, but I don't know whether you have enough details about it. I was actually working on this topic heavily last couple of weeks. So I don't know whether you know, Honza, maybe I will just keep asking you, that we introduced some extra assertion strategies. Like we had multiple checks whether some assert was executed. We were cross-checking whether the visual asserts worked as it should, and so on. So this was one of the topic what we were focusing a lot, and that's basically it. I don't. It's super difficult to demo, but this is what we introduced. We also introduced new assert, which is pretty basic, but we have it there, and it's a URL assert where we can validate if the app is on specific URL. This seemed to be initially not so needed, but we end up adding it there as well. So
but basically this topic, like green mean green, it was driven by there is LLM interpretation of the results, and it used to be quite like unstable from the tester's perspective, because sometimes the LLM try to explain something is not that bad as it is, or something like that. So there are multiple individual changes and tweaks, and we've end up in a situation that any potential uncertainty leads to the failed test is nowadays the default. And it used to be
this is something what we introduced in the past, that by default test is failed, and now we need to prove it's not. But these all enhancements and fixes were focused on making LLM being a good judge for the decision whether whether the test is really passing or not. I'm not sure whether we are done with that topic. We invest a lot into it, but this is something what should help to make the test result much more trustworthy.
So from the user's perspective, it means you just need to focus on what's failed, and you can believe much more in those past tests nowadays than it used to be.
This is what we are working on. I'll move on to the next one. So this is about 140 agent releases we shipped, and there is a lot, and I don't know whether to focus on all of them. We were working on the stability of canvas and iframe testing. We can test on top of canvas and iframes. We were working on a lot of topics around handling tabs, and also about being able to deep dive into locators. We introduce multiple actions there, so the agent now can scroll. In the past, we were using kind of hack or workaround, where the scroll was possible only by pressing the space bar. Now you can use the scrolling tool, so agent has the specific tool for it. And probably pretty nice feature was that these days, because we were investing a lot in visual testing, but agent was not able to resize the viewport. Now we can resize. And what we did also, that for some specific apps, there was need to use the hold button, like hold the space or hold the enter or hold the arrow up. Yeah, some key. So we introduced this into the existing keyboard key press tool. And then some more stability features. So I will move on from here. There is a lot. I don't want to go into too much details. Then what we did, I think we are coming to the stage where we need to start optimizing the costs and speed and efficiency of the agent. So for that, we introduced length views. So we now trace everything in the trace. And we also introduce another interesting topic, which is direct link from Commander to GitHub. So you can see all the logs. And we also we are fetching logs from GitHub back to the Commander. So for the traceability and in order to optimize, we introduce these features. We also introduced something as a escalation point. We call the tool troubleshoot. And the troubleshoot has playwright-cli as a tool to use. And it can basically increase the reasoning. So the agent itself increase its own reasoning, or especially for this tool, and then try to troubleshoot if the main driving agent will get stuck in some area. So this is the troubleshoot sub agent what we introduced. So a lot of traceability and analysis tools, but also tool to make the agent more robust or more capable by adding extra very universal, like Swiss knife, we call it troubleshoot sub agent.
And in practice, what's the impact of it? Like when it's actually used, in what form?
It works in a way that driving agent has this tool available, and whenever it gets stuck, it can prepare context and hand it over to the sub agent, ask for help. So this is basically another colleague in a team for the agents we are running, and they can cooperate. Actually, it's a kind of alternative approach. If one approach doesn't work, we have this alternative approach, and these tools are cooperating together.
So it's activated like automatically based on some situation, or can you like request for that in some particular project, or maybe just not use it?
It's there by default. What we do is that we provide user to set up the reasoning levels, how heavily it should escalate if some problem occurs, but it's there, and it's default feature.
Okay.
Then we did some kind of fine tuning. I will skip the last two cards in the screen because this is just improvement and enhancements based on the experience with the tools. What we did also is that I don't know how many of our followers know, but we are from Czech Republic, and one of our customer requests to have something like social security number, but we call it birth number in Czech Republic. So we introduced this into our tool or test data generator, along with IBAN and some alphabetic number. So there are a few more faker types in test data generator. Then I am really happy about this feature. If you need to migrate the environments across projects or from analysis to analysis, there is single button to click to copy and another one to paste these variables, so you can quickly migrate. We also introduced we enhanced the authorization. So now you can upload the auth.json. We had it there in past, but it was very technical. Now you can do it on the commander or front-end level, and we introduce some cascading. So you might have a auth.json on test case level or user story level or project level. And these are overriding each other, depends on where you place the authorization. Maybe I'll just explain what it does. Basically, it preset up the browser so the users can use them already authenticated, or you might have some cookies set up. It's basically all the browser storage is preset up, and then you don't need to do it by clicking through the front end. So it's speeding up the tests.
And that cascading principle could be useful for like switching the roles, for example, maybe if you want to perform something like the end user and then like some admin
could
user.
Be.
Okay.
Yeah. What else? I would skip maybe this. This might be a bit technical. Maybe what might be interesting is that we have now a new MCP tool to fetch also combine test from test results together with the tests which were never tested. Now it's in one. It was actually two different calls. Now it's combined into this Wopee fetch test inventory. And we also introduce tools to fetch and update variables, which might be also pretty handy, especially when you are combining or using us with Cloud Code.
And these MCP
Or
enhancements,
any AI coding agent, sorry.
they are useful for the direct use through the in-app chat as well. So each MCP enhancement and change and extension is not only usable on its own, like with your personal SaaS agent, like I don't know, GitHub Copilot or something like that, but it is as well available through the platform chat. So when you are in our front end, you can ask built-in agent through the chat for these things, and it's capable to operate platform. Okay.
As they say, we are dog fooding, so we are using the same MCP for our own purpose. So our chat in the commander using MCP to manage and control the project you are working in. So this is the test data out and MCP enhancements. Another one is that we introduce or improve the baseline management. So if you were using the visual testing, now you can update and manage and introduce new baseline also by uploading them. This might be useful where you when you are using Figma files or any mockups. It can be there prepared before you start even testing. And we also introduce it on the step level. So now each and every step in test case might have its own baseline uploaded. If it never run before, you can add that there.
Actually, to this feature, I was quite skeptical about it at the beginning, but process-wise, it gives me quite good sense because you can have the first baseline, even it's not perfect, to set at the beginning. So when you run the test case for the first time and someone will go there to see the results, there will be many found differences between the original mockup and the actual look of the page. But for you as an end user working with the current snapshot of the application, you can easily compare with the original mockup and see whether there is some problem with the application itself, or if just the look is shifted to the real one. But the comparing the original mockup, it fits, and you can set up your first baseline, like in this case the second one, based on the real application, but you already know how it should look like. So yeah, in these situations it looks quite promising.
Yeah, and actually this is also useful because you have one single place where you can check the expected visual, and based on that you might decide whether to report the bug or just approve the new one. So then there were two more topics we were working on. Now you have XY coordinates cursor, so you can switch that to see the coordinates. It might be actually useful, especially when you need to somehow fine-tune the visual click. If you want to have a very specific XY coordinates to click on, then this tool might help you. And what might be also interesting is that by default, agent is not seeing the screenshots, but it has a tool to see the screenshot. And now what you can do, you can set up, we call it vision in a project settings. And this vision basically enable the vision for the agent like constantly without any extra tool call. It's there and it's just collecting the screenshot and attaching it to the each and every LLM call. Of course, it slows it down, not heavily. I was surprised the impact was really little, and it also consumes a bit more tokens. But in general, this is something what increase the efficiency of the agent, and you can set up the quality of image in the settings, and it's there. By default, it's turned off, so it's disabled and it's not used, but this could be added, and I saw a few cases where this is super useful. I'll move on to the next one.
There is still some.
Yeah, there is. It's 3 months of summary, so a lot of small changes. I will probably quickly go through that and mention just a few. We improved the UI, in short. We add a special view in library, so you have a new grid view, so you can see each and every test as a grid with some details. And we introduce some receiving editors, so the markdowns in many places are now displayed as some nice document instead of markdowns. And a lot of other stuff I will skip. And now this is the last section to go and see something. So let me bring some project to play with.
Can we maybe create a new one to see that live cockpit in action?
We can, but I don't know whether it's already ready, and it'll take some time to set it up. Do you want to do it?
I don't know. I'm not ready for this, and I have different resolution. So let's do it on your side, or pick the existing project and create just new fresh analysis for that.
Okay, so I will do it in one of my projects. I will take this. Actually, I was playing with one interesting tool. I don't know whether it's, but for demo purposes, this might be good. Let me prepare the screen for it. Project. Okay, so we will start with this smoke test, and I will run it from here. And I don't know what will happen because I didn't test it. Probably you did. And we are running the auth approach in analysis. So this is one.
So do we want to switch to the new screen where the live cockpit should be available?
So I will create a new analysis in parallel.
I think, is it necessary?
How I could switch? I didn't touch the new. Aha, I see this one. Okay, so it's so simple.
Yeah.
So I will collapse this. This is also a new feature I like. And now we are starting the crawling, right? And it's what it does. It asks me something here.
No, we are not in crawling. We are in an analysis overview. So maybe the screen will be fine-tuned, but this way you can get into the crawling itself.
So it looks like it started already. And we are logged in. We have passed test.
Okay, I would start fresh analysis for that and initiate the crawling from scratch. So if you can open the analysis number 2 or this way, yeah, doesn't matter, and start with crawling from here.
So it asked me whether to create with AI or import. So I'll create with AI, and from here I might get some interesting results. Okay, so it looks like it started already, and I can see the interactive mode where I could take a control, or it starts asking me about the inspect login, explore menus, and primary models broadly. I would say this. I keep the recommendation. And now what I could do here is I can take a control. I will not do that. May I say speed up? Let's see what will happen.
Will this help?
What is happening here? Speed up.
Yeah.
Okay, it went there.
Okay, so maybe agent can hack some other company and use their resources to be faster.
And I see this rendering of the special characters, check characters, seems to be broken.
Yeah.
I don't want to go into too much testing here, but it looks like it works. And it probably collects some click body. I don't know what's saving application.
What's happening in here? You've initiated first analysis, running the agent in that interactive mode, and right now it's trying to discover something in that application to be testable. And during that phase, you are able to step in and take control over the browser, or you can ask agent to cover some specific parts, right? And what happened right now?
It looks like it's something is cute. Cute like cute, not like cute.
So that's cute.
Yeah, and now it looks like this is ending up, no? Or what happened here? It's black. Wrapping up, thinking, wrapping up, thinking. Okay, too many thinking. Now it's done. Okay, so this finished with some report. And what else I can do here? I don't know. It looks.
So this is the report from the initial crawling, and already some first test cases were generated, and now they are running for the first time, right? So one is in a queue, and the second one is already running, and again in a interactive mode. So you can see what's happening there.
Okay, some steps. Prepare. This will be probably executed, and it did. I can see the screenshots there. And it's done.
Again. So 3-step test case delivered.
Yeah, executed with the results. It's nice. Edit plan. I see. Cancel. Good. It looks nice. Just I'm still living with the old one, but this is the new one. I would stop here to make it consumable, not too long. And let's demo it deeper next time.
Okay.
So this is the part of the new cockpit or analysis and interactive mode. Apart from that, there are a few more features, but there is no time to discuss it now, so I will stop.
Okay.